Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Übel Blatt Season 1, Episode 2. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up immediately where the last episode left off, where the guy from the monastery is got his mercenary of some sort by his side, which we find out this guy used to be a ex-smuggler himself, but it's like, oh, we brought him over to our side. And I'd wondered at first, I was like, oh, the way he was silent and acting so stoic, I was like, oh, is he being brainwashed or something? But later on, it seems like, nah, he's got all his faculties to himself, so it seems like he's in control. But he seems to recognize and know the smuggler, what's her name? Is it Altea or Altea? Either way, she was pissed the moment she's like, hey, you were on our side. How could you betray us? But I don't think she recognizes him like he recognized her, because he's like, oh, funny, I would meet you all this time later. And that looked kind of like how she looked 3 years ago when she kind of went through this area and lost that person she was close to it. But maybe it was her even younger. Who knows? Who knows how long this guy, like, before he switched over to the side of the church and stuff like that. Well, yeah, the monastery and stuff. So, and the magic sword he uses, I'm wondering if we're going to see more weapons like those in this universe. But basically, at its core, there is a fairy being used as a weapon, and only Coinzel and PP can hear it. I guess because as elves, it makes them. I guess the fact is, I think it's so interesting that maybe as like. Because later on they refer to Coinzel as like a demi-human, so I guess that's like the term for all the like non-human people in existence. Like who knows like what the different tribes and races are in this world, but I guess like anything that's not human is a demi-human, and so I guess only other demi-humans would have been able to hear that fairy's cries, which is horrendous. I was kind of hoping something could be done about it, but it's like, nah, home dude still has his sword. He still has that at the end. And that's why I was wondering, I'm like, are there going to be more weapons that are like that? Is that the only thing that makes that sword magical, is that it has a fairy embedded in it? And like, has she always been embedded into it? Like, how long have these weapons been around? Are they really rare? Or are they common enough? I mean, to the point they were like magic sword, and they didn't really know that. So I guess like must be like super, super rare weapons for them to not kind of know that until they start hearing like the fairy screaming out. But basically, it's like her power erupts. Like that's what causes everything with the blade. It's like her screaming out in pain and basically erasing everything in its path. But Coinzel was able to not only block the attack, he redirected it twice. And Coinzel ends up falling into a deeper area of the monastery, which is, it turns out it's an area he's familiar with, and the main guy from the monastery is there, and he's like, hey, like, unfortunately for you, you fell in here. Let me bring my elite squad here to deal with you. And so they're getting ready to attack Coinzel, because he's like, oh, I could tell it must be part of your special ability that you gain power from the moonlight. That's the only reason why you were able to resurrect. He's like, now that you're so far from the moonlight that it can't reach you down here, you're at a disadvantage. But Coinzel still hasn't fully recovered from everything, and he's able to fend off these guys, and he makes his way to the guy. And I thought it was so interesting when he just stabs his sword into the ground and it erupts a spell that basically eviscerates all the other people. I was like, how did he know that was there? It's because he's been here before. It's been 20 years, but 20 years ago he was here, and he learned where all like the trap spells is, because this particular facility that the monastery was built off of this place has been captured and retaken over and over again, and every time it was basically retaken, there were new traps implemented. And his Ergnok, I'm going to butcher these names, dude. Like, the fact is, once again, you thought I was terrible with Japanese, Chinese, and Korean. Oh boy, I'm terrible with German as well, as I discovered. I'm not too surprised. But yeah, a lot of these names I'm probably not going to say, because I'm going to butcher them and then I'm going to get them right, because I'd have to look up a lot of these names. So, like, for example, Coinzel's real name was like Akarit or something like that. Astrit or something like that. I'm going to butcher these names, so do forgive me. But and that ended up being a crux of this episode too, was us, getting the backstory on Coinzel. We don't know exactly how he went from Astrit to Coinzel, like how that happened, but we have a better understanding of the past to some extent. We didn't see everything go down. We don't know why this, other than like the fame and glory and wanting it for themselves, why the 7 turned against the others. Because in total there was like 14 Lancers. Ergonok was one, and obviously Astreet was one as well. But then there was like the 4 that were killed, and I don't know if Astreet was part of the 4 Lancers that were killed. To be fair, they were like, oh yeah, these are traitors. So that was the whole point, was to frame them as traitors. So I'm like, there's still someone missing from that group, isn't it? If Astreet is counted as amongst them, and Argnok sacrificing himself the way he did, and there only being the 7 heroes who were recognized. So it could easily be like someone else, 1 or 2 other people, because might have died during the fight. Because if you include Astrite, that's at least 2 people that are unaccounted for. And if you don't count him, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm butchering that. I'm sorry. But there's at least 1 or 2 missing people that are not accounted for. So that's why I'm like, did someone else just straight up die during this whole debacle? And then, like, you had the people that some of the remaining get sacrificed and painted as traitors. I don't think we actually know why. One thing, I'm butchering his name again. Argak, like, ended up sacrificing Arnok. I'm saying it wrong and different every single time. I'm sorry. Why he sacrificed himself to turn himself into like those 1,000 spears, like kind of like a massive wall. I don't think we got the specifics of why he did that. I don't know if it was to stop some pursuit, because obviously they're at war with their empire was at war with another. Was it Wishtek or something like that? So I don't know if like that was another country that they were constantly at war at, which it seems to be the case. So I guess he was meant to be like this wall of defense to slow their approach and make it so that, like, you know, if things kind of go wrong or sour, they'd have to get through me. It's supposed to be like this magical, like, Hail Mary last line of defense type of thing, I believe. But it's interesting when Coinzel ends up running into the abbot who's here. Because, like, behind the door, he's like, oh, like, I've been here years ago, so I know exactly what's behind this door. And that's where Argonok had made his sacrifice all those years ago. And it's like, yeah, it took me 20 years, but I'm back here, buddy, you know? He's like, I might not look like it, but essentially the abbot's there, and he was a merchant at the time. He was like, oh, I saw everything. He's like, I was here when, like, the Lancers came through, but then, like, not knowing at the time that there were traitors amongst them, you know, and now gave birth to the 7 heroes. He's actually, because of all that, because he was here when the 1,000 spears popped up, when Argonok made his sacrifice, he decided, like, oh, I'm going to basically, he built the monastery here, and then one of the 7 is the ones who came to him and was like, oh, that's so amazing, and that's why he kind of oversees everything. And now it's like, oh, he's so great, he's so amazing. And obviously that guy being mentioned pisses Coinzel off the most, because he's like, that guy used to be a bandit and stuff like that. So he wasn't, you know, I guess different people from different backgrounds came together for this grand purpose, but Coinzel referred to him as a bandit. And then he's like, yeah, he used to laugh and tell these stories. He seemed like a nice guy. And then he was amongst the group. He was like, I saw his face in particular amongst them, laughing just as hard when they were slaughtering me and the others. He didn't just like kill them, like sliced and diced them, apparently, the way Coinzel put it. It was almost like, yeah, they diced us up, and they were laughing and enjoying it, and it's like that's burned into his memories, and it makes him hate them that much more. Especially these were people you got to know, you considered comrades in arms, and they betrayed you and everything that you guys stood for and what you fought for. And then at the same time, you having the guy from the monastery and the abbot be like, oh my god, this little hero boy. Once again, that's the thing that's going to piss him off the most. It's like, oh, I don't idolize these bastards. I want to murder each and every single one of them. I guess he did it for twofold reasons, because he wanted to kind of about to say, like, he destroyed this giant barrier by like kind of killing his friend. It's like you were trapped here. I guess it's like you basically sacrificed yourself for some BS, because who knows how long the Seven were planning their betrayal, but they did it, and it's like you sacrifice yourself for those people they weren't worth sacrificing yourself for. Because I was like, there was a ship that was going to like, I mean, I guess Coinzel did it because it everything matters in this regard. I guess his whole, I don't know if his plan, because his plan initially was like, oh, I'm just going to get on a ship and bounce. But I guess when the opportunity presented itself, he decided to shift things over, because he's like, right, it's like, I'm going to set my friend free. Like, you don't deserve to be here anymore. Like, you deserve to rest, you know? It's like, I will get revenge for everything. And I'm like I said, the point was to initially stow away on the ship that was going to pass by, but they got interrupted before they could like get to the ship. So it's not like, it doesn't seem like any of this was initially the plan, but like the moment things changed and he found himself in this area, the deepest parts of the monastery, he's like, well, I might as well do this while I'm here. You know, I was strapped for time, and it would have never been easy to get here with everything being as it is at the monastery. But now that I'm here, I'll take this opportunity to visit my friend I haven't seen in 20 years since you made your sacrifice, and I'm gonna set you free. I thought it was interesting too when like the abbot was like, no, you got to stop him. He's like, oh, but the dude's like, oh, but my men were killed. He's like, you bastard, you need to stop him. And he tries to shoot some like projectiles toward Coinzel, but Coinzel slices him and immediately destroys like the seal and brings the whole monastery down. But that guy was willing to kill the abbot. I was like, yo, you're like trying, I was like, oh, you're literally taking this moment to try and grab up power. I was like, you're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage too, because that rock could just as easily crush you. But of course, I was like, that guy's too much of a slimy bastard. He's going to survive, isn't he? And lo and behold, he does. And his hired gun is still there. And he's like, oh, I'll pay you. Help me and we could gather up all this power. But then like the hired gun sees all those civilians, because the moment this place started crashing down, like everyone that was waiting to cross, because you had to go through so much, you had to pay so much just to kind of skirt your way by, people started bum rushing their way through. It's like, it's down, let's go. And those who were at the mercy of the monastery were all gathered, and the sword dude just walked away and left him. We didn't see it, but you can only hope those people like butchered that guy, because I was like, this is the best ending he could get, as in like the most justified ending. So, but in this chaos, our trio of Altia, Weed, and Pepe end up taking off in the ship, and she's kind of heartbroken because she's like, oh, Coinzel, but apparently Coinzel hijacked a dragon and is just like flying near them. So, because at first I was like, are they going to go their separate ways? But it's like, because Weed has a reason. There's someone he's trying to get to, someone he has to rescue and help. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, it seems like this group is going to be together. I mean, but for who knows how long. This doesn't necessarily mean anything, but when I'm looking at the Wikipedia, because I was looking at the names, those characters don't have big, like, I mean, once again, it's, you know, it's a Wikipedia article, and like I said, I'm not reading anything, I'm just trying to get the names, so I'm not trying to come across spoilers. Those aren't big, like, paragraphs for these characters. I didn't necessarily see PP's name, so that doesn't tell me anything, but I was like, oh, they might not be in the story that much. Like, either they pop in and pop out throughout, or they're, like, with Coinzel for a bit at the beginning and then eventually disappear from the story because they have their own story, and then eventually they go their separate ways while Coinzel goes off and gets his revenge, maybe. I am curious who he was before. Once again, as we learned, one of the seven used to be a bandit. The Argonaut, it based on the ending, the little thing, the post-credit thing at the end where they give you a little lore dump. Turns out he was a military strategist for the Empire. So, but we don't know what Arstreet, like what his situation was. Like, who was he? I was about to, like, if you look at him a little bit, he does seem like, I don't know, he's the best, like one of the best swordsmen around. But I was wondering, like, he seemed like, if you put that character in any other context, he almost looked like he could be like a prince type of character. So I don't know what his circumstances and his background are, and we'll have to wait to kind of learn about the other, you know, lances who became, well, the lances who are dead, as well as the lances who became the seven heroes, which we see all of them gathered. And that was a big question I had last episode too, was like, are they scattered around the world, or are they always together? Like, the fact is that did they just happen to be get together at this point in time when the spears was coming down, or is it just a situation of, no, they're always together, that's how they kind of rule, they have like their main hub and they're always together there? Because it could easily be a thing of, like I said, they do have different regions, so Coinzel probably has to travel around to different regions to kill them. I thought that'd be kind of like the nature of the story, but we'll have to wait to see. It's only going to be like the third episode and he's on his way in that same direction, so I'm like, there's no way it's going to be that easy to get to them and murking all 7 of them, because I'm assuming that's the crux of the entire plot. The story is getting revenge on all of them and just how long it takes to kill all of them, but who knows? The story could probably progress even further than I'm estimating, because there's so much in this world that we just don't know. Once again, for example, how Street became Coinzel, and beyond just the recognition and everything and not wanting to share it, why did the 7 decide we 7 will get all the glory? Why did they choose those? Why did those 7 come to that? And why wasn't anyone else involved? I guess because the ones that are dead are the ones that were too righteous. Everyone else was corruptible, whereas the other ones were true heroes and were not going to be sullied by fame and fortune, whereas the others could easily be swayed by fame and fortune like they were. So I don't know, maybe it's something deeper than that, or maybe it's just as shallow and surface level of, we just happened to be the selfish pricks amongst the group, that's why we did what we did. It's kind of self-explanatory, but you get what I'm trying to say, hopefully. I'm excited to ultimately see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.